So welcome in here to episode 12 on the Bent Family and Friends realm. And on today's episode, I want to start here in the Nether Hub and just show off. I don't normally show off somebody else's build, but Duff and Captain Fajita have made a portal here to the Nether Hub, and it's a common area, so I think it's fair game for me to show it off. And it ties in really, really well to the build style at the base. All the block palette is roughly the same, and it's very intricate. It's a very appealing design, and it matches in, and yet it's unique to what their area is. But for today's episode, let's get into the spawn area and talk about what the build is. So here we are at spawn, and so today's episode, I really want to make a big furnace, something community-wise. Last week I made that flower farm for community build, and now I want to make a huge furnace array for everybody to use if they so need. But now I just have to kind of figure out where I want to put it, I guess. Try to match in the space, and this is just a hilltop, so it's kind of hard to get everything to line in here. I'll probably the other thing I want to do is, last week I made the flower farm and I wasn't super happy with the roof, so they might be able to block it in if I put it down on the hillside. But then the roof is going to be really low. Maybe if I put it up over here in back of the flower farm, I can kind of cover up the part of the build that I don't really like. So the roof where it connects to the side of the building, I didn't really like that space. So maybe if I kind of work the new build into like this general area, it'll help to kind of block off that part of the build. Maybe if I come back in this far, or maybe if I keep it up, this will give me still space to build more builds back here. Yeah. If I up on that kind of crest, I can still put buildings back where I'm standing. Yeah, I think I like that spot. Yeah. So let's get some blocks together and start kind of laying out what I plan on doing through here. Those are the old blocks from last episode, from last build. And I don't think I have to worry about blocking spawn. This is right around these flowers is where you spawn into the world. And I just want to make sure that I don't put something right here to change where your world spawn is. I'm not sure exactly how that mechanic works. I just know I don't want to affect that block. So yeah, no, I think I agree. I like it over here. Kind of tie in, maybe not like touching, but very close, and I can fill in some space with trees after I'm done, or some shrubs. Yeah. I'll keep it the same kind of block palette, I think, for now. We'll do like the deep slate on the bottom, and then like quartz and calcite on the top. Yeah, I think I like that. We'll keep it kind of samey. It's easier for me. Maybe not round this time, maybe more square. But let me go get some blocks and we'll start building this, and I'll come right back in a minute. Well, I've quickly laid out the floor plan, I think, for this building, and I might need to adjust it a little bit. But this will kind of show you generally what I do. Generally what I try to do is leave wall segments in either 3s or 5s. And here I've just jetted out like the intersections out to give the wall some interest and depth. And then of course I've got the base layer as the cobble deep slate, which kind of matches the rest of the builds. So what this allows me to do with the 3 is you have one block on either side of a window. So block, window, block, and then the same with the doorway. You could be block, door, block. And then with a 5, you then have a double window where you put windows in and you've got a dead space in between. So like this build over here on the short side wall is 3 wide. It gives you a block, a window, and then a block. Is generally speaking, I kind of like build my wall segments depending on how many windows or how wide the windows are going to be for the build I'm doing. So I think to keep this comparable, we'll do 3 wide. Uh, so to keep the same pattern, the cobbled will now go into blackstone, I believe. But then I have to worry about matching the terrain into the building. It's like this sits kind of high. Being on this hilltop is a bit of an obstacle. But this does allow me to kind of block off the building. So yeah, so next is the brick. And if the wall section should be like 5 wide there. And then transition back into like 2 blocks of cobbled to where that wood trim is. And then it goes into a white section. So the white would be like the die rate would be like a block and then 2 window blocks. So and then one above it, so about 4, give or take. And this part will adjust the depth of the white for how far that extends above. It depends on how big I'm going to put the windows up there too, I guess. And I still haven't decided what the pitch of the roof is going to be. Where this is going to be a smeltery, one of the ideas I had is to put a furnace or a fireplace as decoration in the middle. So roughly the middle would be like this intersection here. And so just so I can imagine what it's going to look like, if I pillar up here as what the chimney would be, to kind of give me a rough idea of what I need to have for a roof line. Because I think I'm going to do a pitched roof like that building over there instead of a round one. Yeah, I think just a regular like 2-to-1 pitched roof, or maybe like a barn style. So that would give you the kind of idea of the layout of this building for now. But let me get the brick section done up for the walls, and we'll go from there, and then we can lay out the roof line and see how that's going to work. But yeah, we'll get it up to there, and I'll be right back. Well, I didn't get as far as putting the roof on yet, but I did want to stop here and show you the blackstone brick layer. So again, there's the 3 wall section with the window, and then the jut out, and then the 5 wide with 2 windows and a jut out. But I do want to add some textural differences to these columns and put stairs or some kind of separation in. But I felt it kind of important to stop here and show you that I decided that this building being square was kind of boring. So I wanted to add a different shape to it. So I'm going to put a tower on the back here that serves 2 purposes. It adds a little bit of textural difference to the build, as well as this is going to be a furnace array that takes basically slabs is going to be the fuel supply. And so I wanted to add a way for anybody to get slabs here to run the furnaces. So this little section here, this little tower I'm going to add, is basically going to host a little bamboo farm. So that'll be something else I have to add to the build. So all you have to really do to add shapes is basically just cut sections of the wall out that you want to replace. And then I put the ground level, I guess you would say, of this tower a couple of blocks lower than the rest of the building. So I'm just adjusting the split between the cobble deep slate and the bricks down a little bit. So if I get rid of this little section here, now that opens it up to where the tower would line into it. So it's kind of important before I get too far into this, it was to kind of lay out how or where the furnaces are going to go actually. Although I do plan on like making this building before the furnaces go in, which will lead to some problems. Oh, yeah, sorry, Captain's had a note. Bear with me while I type here. Good night. Typing with your controller is so slow. Sorry. Yeah, squirrels. Yeah, so to put the furnaces in here, if I do it up here on this level, these blocks would be like the hoppers. Would give me a rough idea. No, this doesn't give me a whole lot of space actually. We're only looking at like 8 wide, so if I did a stack of furnaces, I'd have to go pretty high. But maybe I can figure that all out after. So yeah, the furnace would go like there, and empty into the hopper layer below. Oh well. That should be something I have to work in after. Why don't I get like the top floor in before I get too fussed about this? We'll get the diorite layer and the roof line figured out. I think it's safer. I can always work this in. I could always go down lower if I have to. I could basically go underground. Well, I've started to get the second bit of the building done up, but I wanted to mock up a roof first, so I'm not quite sure of what pitch I'm going to do. If I do a straight 2-to-1, the roof is going to be up there, and then if I put a chimney in the middle, it's going to be like 30 blocks in the sky, and that doesn't quite read right. So why don't I change the style of this to more of a barn style? And we'll take a look at that here in a second. I reduced the angle slightly, and it's one past center, so it's going to be to there. That leaves me with window heights. Yeah, I don't mind that. And I think this block down here will be like turned maybe this way. Just to make it a little bit longer. Yeah, that'll be fine. And instead of putting the chimney straight in the center, I'll just offset it a little bit. I do need to pick these blocks back up. So now what I need to do is devise... I've got a bigger peak roof, and I've got so many... This inventory problem. Jeepers creepers. Let's get rid of some of this stuff here. Gray wool, I don't know where that came from. Yeah. Get my inventory kind of empty. And put some of these blocks down here and try to decide how I'm going to transition from one to the other. So I want to like start at the bottom and kind of transition from dark to light. So I think the prismarine is going to be the lightest at the top, and then if I do like some combination of this, and then strip. So I think these need to get switched. Yeah. I mean, I could start with just solid blocks of this as a transition. I don't know if I really enjoy that texture of this warped wood, but it would give it a bit more of a variety. It's just I'm bordering it with spruce actually, so let's start there just for an idea. So I know what it looks like, because I do plan on having a solid border. I'll get back up here. The only problem with doing this is that's so far away from everything else. So I'll avoid this, and we'll just go from wood to nylium to stripped to prismarine at the top. And maybe instead of crisp lines, I can come back in with some texture and change some heights with half blocks and stairs. But I'll get this down first, and we'll go from there. Well, there's the shape of it. It's growing on me. I have to knock some windows into the white and add some trim around. But yeah, I think it's near enough and different enough to kind of tie in. Yeah, it's growing on me. And I'm starting to like the fact that I've raised the cobble deep slate up a block, just in those points. Maybe I could put like a stained glass window in, actually. Might be kind of interesting. But so what I'm doing now for right now too is the first pass on the roof. I'm just going to put it a solid one type of block until I get the tower put in too. So I'm going to go grab some more of this block, and we'll get the roof all done up. The roof is on, the walls are in. I put a windows on either side, and instead of doing a stained glass, I'm just doing a two-toned wall. In the border here, I'm doing a little bit different with trapdoors and the such. And then back on this side, the tower is on. The roof is a little dinky on the tower, but that could be fixed. So next is a staircase. I think I'm going to take this doorway out and put a chimney in the back here. Eventually. So I have to decide on where to and how to do the furnaces. I've got a stack of furnaces and 4 stacks of hoppers. So I have to try to figure out if I can lay enough in here. So I'm going to start laying this out with dirt and just kind of give myself an idea of what the layout could be. So I'll get back to you as soon as I figure this out. I'm guessing this is going to be kind of hard to read. So the idea here would be that this dirt block is a furnace. So let's just do this. And there would be a row of them 20 blocks long. So let's pretend that these dirt blocks are the furnaces. And then a row of hoppers to take stuff out, a row of hoppers to put fuel in, and a row of hoppers to put your smelting things in. But then lies the problem of getting them all connected. So I would have to have like a starter chest, so you would input, say here, or here. And then this would all dump into, like, say, a minecart. And then you would have to run a track of rails up to this level, and then up to that level, and then up to that level. So I could put them all, the furnaces, in here. And then also the problem is this building, you'd only have 2 blocks of space for decorations. 3 on the front. Or what I think I can do is, why don't I just bury it all and leave this all as pure decoration? So get rid of all this, pretend this never happened, and instead have a big fireplace in the corner of the building here, represented by dirt. And I'll throw a fireplace in here, make it pretty big and fancy. Going up through the roof. And then simply have an input and an output. And I could just go down here in the ground and pipe it all through that way with droppers and hoppers and stuff. And it'd be simpler because I can keep it all in a straight line. So yeah, let me do that. I'll clear some space out and make it downstairs. Well, this does not look like much, but this took me a long time to figure out. So everything's buried. And I'll show you these when I come back up. So let's go down through here and take a look. And it's going to be tight quarters. But you can basically see there's a row of furnaces like I talked about, and it's 32 long on this side, and it's 32 long on this side. So maybe you can see better down through here. Boop. So you can see all the bottom of the furnaces down through here. And it goes a long ways. And you can see from here, there's hoppers going into the back for fuel. Anytime you put a hopper into the side of furnace, you can either go from this side or the front side, and it'll put fuel in. But if you put a hopper in from the top, it'll put something in to burn. And then a hopper underneath always pulls out the burn product. If you follow around and look at the nozzles of the hoppers, I've got them funneled around here for pickup. And half them go to the left and half them go to the right into these chests. And then I've got this little dropper elevator going up here. It's a simple, it's a silent whisper design that I found. Excuse me. Basically, stuff comes out of the furnaces and goes into this chest. This observer, the second that it sees that there's something in this chest, it powers this rail, which this observer sees, which then powers the redstone torch tower all the way up, powering these droppers to spit things up into the chest that's up in the room upstairs. And we'll show that in a second. So that's the pickup. The input, I've set it up as a minecart. And I had to kind of jig it around and up and down and back and forth to avoid powering these rails in such a way that it blocked the hoppers. So all these powered rails had to be powered away from any of the hoppers so that things don't get blocked. So like this block powers this rail, but it doesn't block this hopper because it's not in an adjacent block. It doesn't power an adjacent block. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody or not. But that's what took me so long in this specific build to get things the way I wanted it. And so what happens is this is the input. And actually, I'm going to show you how this works. So if I get down here. Oh, Jessica. Okay, I'm going to put a stack of warp blocks in that chest and a stack of cobble deep slate in this one. So there's two stacks and they're automatically getting pushed up through. And you should see in this chest, they'll both show up here. And you should end up with a full stack of each. So I must need to prime the system first. It's no big deal. Okay, so that's the output chest. This will be the chest for the fuel. And I've just done that straight as a hopper. So this goes to the chest for the fuel. And it just goes straight down. And I've just put a hopper chain all the way around. So there's a hopper going into the furnace, and then there's a hopper going outside the furnace. I'll get down here, I'll show you. So this bottom hopper goes into the furnace itself. But this top chain just goes around and around and around. The other thing you can do is to limit the amount of fuel it takes to prime the system is you can put something in this hopper that can't be burnt, like say a piece of stone, and the furnace will never pick that up. So if you then put a fuel supply in here, it's only ever going to take that one. So you can eliminate 4 stacks doing it this way. And I'll go through when I get the furnaces, the fuel set up, just to limit the amount of bamboo that it takes to prime the system. The last thing to show you would be how the input works. So I just have this very basic minecart with a chest, and you'll put your items in here that you want to smelt. Say gravel. I'm not going to press this yet, but you'll put the items in here, you fill it up, and you pull this lever, and it'll go around and around and around. It's going to go around the top of all 64 chests. You have to turn this off if you want it to stop, or you keep leaving it going. So every time it goes around, it'll clear one stack out of its inventory. So it can make 27 trips around before it empties it completely out. And what will happen is the furnace will burn. By the time the chest gets around to here again, you'll start to see the items start to pile up. So the next time I show you this working will be once I have the furnace primed. So the last thing I have to do, well, I've got two things to do in here. I have to kind of clearly mark where things are, input chest, and I want to make this simple so that anybody can use it. So I think this is pretty simple. I have to decorate in here. I'm going to put like little trapdoors or something here just to keep people from walking down in. And I want to have a big fireplace or furnace in here. But that's decorations, that's beside the point. What I'm going to put in this little tower, which is why I built this tower on the side of the building, is I want to build a little bamboo farm. That's why I put this little tower on the side of the building. And it's just going to be a... I have to go around here. I don't have the... It's just going to be a little micro farm. So you'll basically stand in one spot and press a button which will bone meal some bamboo. Because while watching an episode from it was Foxy No-Tail and Slack Lizard, and they actually myth busted what the best fuel supply is, and it happens to be slabs. For the way that this furnace is going to work, slabs is the new best fuel. And the easiest way to get slabs is through bamboo. And with the Wither farm and all these other mob farms around the server now, there's pretty well infinite bones. But what this will mean is this is all set up that anybody wants to use it. All they have to do really is make some bone meal, make some bones, or make some bamboo slabs, and put their stuff in there. But let me get this bamboo farm set up. I'll get the system all primed up, and we'll go through like a chest worth of sand to show you how quick this works. Well, I think the bamboo farm's up and working. It's actually difficult because it's such a tight spot. But let me get some bone meal in here. And I'm going to have a hard time kind of labeling this for everybody to use, because I had to put the on-off switch in a very hard spot without tearing the walls down. Maybe I can bump this out, but the on-off switch is up here, and the bone meal goes in here. And what it does is it cycles down the bone meal into the droppers. And there's more. I'll just poke this hole. There's another row of hoppers comes down to feed this one. So that one double chest splits and feeds both droppers or dispensers. And that this makes a quick clock, and at the same time it fires all 4 pistons in all 4 dispensers at the same time. So it's a very simple, really. With a bit more space, this is very simple. But basically, you turn this lever on, and they chunk back and forth, and then this powers for bone meal, the bone meal to make the bamboo. And it just keeps spitting out the bamboo. So then what you got to do is I'll move this crafting bench over. Holy Lord Lifton. I'm getting junked. My inventory is getting junked up so bad doing this build. Okay. So I just picture you stand here. You craft your bamboo. Then you craft your planks. And then you chuck your planks in here. And like I said before, those planks will get cycled down through all those hoppers and put into all the furnaces. So surely there should be some... Yeah. So it's going to take a while to populate all this this bamboo into the furnaces, but once it's set up, it should be pretty easy to maintain. So I'll get the bamboo filled up, and then we'll run through some sand or something to show you how it works. One little side note, if you're going to do a farm like this or a smeltery like this, is I'm putting blockers in these back filters, like I mentioned before. The other thing is too, before you get going, check every one of your furnaces to make sure that it's not blocked. If you've done construction with open hoppers, things can fall into them. The other thing we'll do is the first run after we get things running is we'll come down here and actually take a look at the furnaces and see if they're working. Well, I'll show you that when we're rolling. But yeah, we'll be back here once the bamboo's filled up. So I've just been live. Well, I'm live on Twitch right now, and we filled the furnaces up a little bit with wood. This should just about fill most of the hoppers. I'll probably still need a little bit of wood, but there's some in each of the furnaces. So what I want to do is load this minecart up with sand. And all I need to do to run the farm is to turn this on. And every time that this minecart goes around, it should use up exactly one stack of sand. And as soon as it comes back, we'll test it. And it should be 2 now. So it's used 2 more than it should have. So I might not have counted the amount of furnaces properly. That's fine. I never said I was perfect. So let's get this emptied out, and I want to go downstairs and make sure that all the furnaces are working. So what I've done is I've decorated this after the hoppers are in place, and I've had to move some stuff around. So anytime if I find one of these furnaces aren't lit up, that means that there's been a drop fall into a spot where this shouldn't be. But this all looks good so far. Yeah, that side's all good. And oh, it's already gone through those 3 stacks. Yeah, I'm too slow. I'm too slow. And they're probably already here. So what can happen in this dropper chain is you'll see that I'm short a couple of pieces of glass. It could very well be that as this one's powered, this one of these is probably unpowered, so there's probably glass stuck in here. So this isn't the perfect dropper chain. That's fine. This it's not lossless, it's just it's hiding here. So the next thing that comes through will push that glass up. Not the end of the world. But I don't think that there's anything hidden. And as you can see, the fuel is filled back up again, which means that any of the fuel that was used to make that glass has already been refilled. So I'm going to call this a great success. It's open for use for anybody. All you need to do is come in here, put whatever you want to cook into this box, pull this lever, and everything will show up here in this chest. Excellent. So that is the end of the furnace build for this episode. But next, I want to talk about episode 13 and future plans. I am just about done with my starter house, and so what I want to do is move to a bigger mega base, and that is going to be on the Mushroom Island. So let's get to the Mushroom Island and take a look at what plans are there. So we're going to head out to the Mushroom Island, which will be the spot for my new base. It is down the east tunnel, give or take 700 blocks. So this tunnel is not done yet, and it needs a nice road if I'm going to be traveling back and forth. But I do have it pretty well dug out to where it's not a death trap, I think, if memory serves me. There's a couple holes in it, and the world's not going to gen. Whew. And I can't fly. So that's interesting. This will be the general crossroads at 500. So I want to make like these tunnels are on the cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west. And then every 500 blocks, eventually there will be crossroads. Just so that anybody that wants to make tunnels anywhere in the world shouldn't have to go more than like 500 blocks. But down here is, and you can see I've been digging it out and the blocks are still here on the ground. Just bear with me here. There's this little tunnel here to a mushroom island. It's not far off a center, but this is going to be the location of my new home. And the general idea of it is that I want to create a balloon festival. We just recently had our balloon fiesta here in Sussex, which I was a part of. I actually took vacation for the first time in about 7 years to go volunteer at a balloon fiesta. And so I want to recreate it. I've been talking about making a balloon for a while, but instead of making a balloon, I want to make a lot of balloon. So what I'm going to do is convert this mushroom island into a balloon fiesta. It's going to include a bandstand. Oh, I didn't even notice this was here. A bandstand, a launch field, a bunch of balloons, and the general idea is the wind direction is going to blow everything back towards spawn. And so I'm going to try to make balloons that are pretty well realistic in size and scale, which is going to mean that they're plenty big enough to actually live inside. So I think my first balloon is going to be Stevie and Brad Armstrong's. It's the City Auto sponsored balloon, and it's going to be my storage room. So the interior of it is going to be about 55 circumference circle of space. So there's going to be more than enough room to do things, and to be able to do farms and storage and all kinds of stuff, as well as having the launch field and stuff like that. So first step is going to be to clear off all these mushrooms like it always is, and start to live on my mushroom island again. So next episode, we'll try to convert this all to green, lush grassland to launch balloons from. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.